The following program is brought to you by Eric Early for Congress 2020.
It's time, America, for the Eric Early Show.
I believe in American exceptionalism. I believe America is the shining city on a hill.
Eric Early is a successful businessman and attorney living in Los Angeles. Eric Early is now taking on the swamp in Washington, D.C. as a candidate for Congress against corrupt Congressman and career politician Adam Schiff.
Schiff walks around like he's this genius. He acts like this genius. He acts like he's smarter than all of us. And at the end of the day, he is a clown.
Eric Early is fearless, and his mission is to expose the underbelly of the beast.
Nancy Pelosi needs to be sent out into retirement also. She's probably about 20 years past her prime, quite frankly.
Get out of your comfort zone. You are about to be woke for the Eric Early Show, coast to coast and house to house. Now, here's your host, Eric Early.
Whoa! So nice to see you folks today. Thank you for coming back to see the Eric Early Report, reporting from the belly of the beast. And the belly of the beast is Los Angeles, California. This is the place where, along with New York and maybe Chicago, get me one or two other cities, this evil of communism and socialism is bubbling up and perpetrated and sent all around the country. So what better place than Los Angeles, the belly of the beast, to do this show? This is Eric Early, www.ericearly.com. As many of you know, I'm an attorney. I run a 30-lawyer, nationally recognized law firm. I'm the managing partner. I sign the checks of lots of people every 2 weeks, so I know what it's like to run a business. We practice in courts all around the nation, defending our clients from all kinds of stuff, from people where fraudsters literally try to steal their homes from them, to businesses big and small, to entertainment litigation, contract battles, and all that other stuff. And I am also very proud to say that I am the official Republican candidate against the worst congressman of our time, Adam Schiff. And I can't wait to take it to him directly. I've been challenging that character for a debate now for the last several months. Crickets in return. He's afraid to debate me. One of these days I'm going to get that guy on a debate stage in front of me, and I cannot wait. It's time for him to answer to the music instead of or listen to the music, instead of answer to the softball questions that he gets from these reprobates like Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell and, Lemon, the dumbest man on television, and all the rest of them. It's time for Schiff to come out, face the music, and start being grilled for the destruction that he has done to our nation for the last 3 years. Over and over and over again, lies and constant destruction. So let's talk about today's show a bit. I'm going to continue. I'm going to talk again some more about the ongoing lockup of our state and our city, Los Angeles, by these two spineless, quote-unquote, leaders, Newsom and Garcetti. Then I'm going to talk about the ongoing Schiff show, who's abandoned our district for 20 years. I'm going to talk more about these folks running communist China and why it's now time for them to pay the piper. I'm recording this on Wednesday. You'll be hearing this on Saturday, my normal time, because on Saturday I'll be up in Sacramento speaking at Liberty Fest for all the great patriots who are working hard to protect our constitutional rights and unlock these doors that this chowderhead Newsom and the spineless clown Garcetti have us under. Eric Early, www.ericearly.com. I'll be back in a few minutes. Hey folks, welcome back. We're back from the break. So I start all these shows with Ronald Reagan's speech at his 1987 swearing in, his inauguration. And what he spoke about, he said, our U.S. Constitution How is it different from all other constitutions? It's so small you might not even know it, but it's so great that it means everything. And what he was referring to are just the 3 words in the Constitution that mean it all. We the people. We the people. That's what separates us from all of these other republics or democracies or certainly communists and socialist governments. Because in this country, we the people, because of our United States Constitution, we tell the government what to do. In all those other countries, the government tells the people what to do. And those words, we the people, as I've been saying now week after week, perhaps could not be more appropriate now than in any time in the last few decades, because we are living in a country where we have these tin pot dictators like this guy Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who has such questionable issues with his life, quite frankly, and this pathetic one, the spineless Eric Garcetti, another one with very serious questionable issues about himself, who are telling us what to do with our life. And, they have the audacity and the temerity to tell us that they know what's best for us. We've been watching this COVID thing now for weeks and months. And for some people, it's been really bad. And that's just a terrible thing. But for most of us, thank God, it's been a flu. All right? As we sit here right now, we have, I believe, a little over 3,000 people in the 40 million person state of California that have died from COVID. Of that 3,000 people, most of them were elderly, and most of them had severe underlying conditions. And there is also a large number of them, of that 3,000, I'm sure, which the Garcettis and Newsoms won't tell us about, that are homeless people. And the Garcettis and Newsoms won't tell us that number because they have been promising us for years that they would do something about the homeless and get them off the streets. And as I sit here today, there's still at least 60,000 people living on the streets of California, a large chunk of that right here in Los Angeles County. So the Garcettis and Newsoms don't want to admit that absolute failure on their part by telling you how many of living on the streets have died from COVID. But the main point is even though we can't stand seeing anybody die, locking down an entire state, destroying people's businesses, destroying people's lives over what has really transpired here is a total outrage. In the name of protecting us, Newsom and Garcetti and the rest of these people in their party have killed off businesses that have been building for years and years. So many of them have now gone bankrupt. You know what that does to the lives of those people who started those businesses? It's complete and total devastation. They've killed off jobs by the millions. Who knows how many of those people are going to be able to get back their jobs? And who knows the effect that's had on the lives of those millions of people who have lost their jobs and don't know if they will ever get it back. So many million of our citizens had little or no safety net to begin with when they were working. Their jobs were gone. The stress, the anxiety, the everything, the depression, everything that comes along with what we have been put through in this state by these two characters and others who claim they're doing it for our best interests is outrageous. And thankfully, Newsom is slowly opening up this state. Not really LA County, but slowly opening up the state. But even though he won't admit it, we know why. He's doing it because of the great patriots up and down this state who have said, you know what? We're not going to take this crap anymore. They're coming out and demonstrating. I support them up and down this state. He's seeing it more and more. He knows also what I know and what so many of you know, that most of us are no longer listening to him anymore. We're not listening to Garcetti's anymore, the orders anymore. We're going out and living our lives, and thankfully so much of our great law enforcement is not listening to Garcetti and Newsom's orders either. So they realize that they have made complete fools out of themselves, and with each passing day, they're making bigger fools out of themselves. And it's all this pressure that's been brought to bear that is causing these guys who would keep us locked down for who knows how much longer, months and months, to start opening things. And that's why I'm really proud. On Saturday, starting at noon, the Liberty Fest in Sacramento. We expect a lot of people up there, and I'm honored to be one of the speakers at the Liberty Fest. We're going to have all kinds of patriots up there. The patriots who have been fighting for weeks and weeks and coming out and saying, don't trample on our constitutional rights. And I am so thankful to be up there and going to be speaking to everybody and meeting everybody. But this is what it takes. This is what it takes to get these tin pot dictators to listen to the will of the people, because otherwise they think they all know better than us. But speaking of L.A. County, Garcetti still doesn't get it. Garcetti came out the other day because he's feeling the pressure. He's feeling the heat from the people. And he comes out the other day, but we're fine. We're open. We're open. LA's open. And then his definition of open is, if you want to buy something from a store, you got to buy it on the side of the street, okay? His definition of open is you still can't go to a restaurant. His definition of open is you can't go into any store except a supermarket and a so-called necessary store. In other words, his definition of open is the definition of closed. All right? And we're getting fed up here, Mr. Garcetti, and all the restaurant owners I know who are on their last legs, if they're not completely gone, know the definition of open. And all the hair salon owners and nail salon people I've spoken to and all the men and women who want to go to those places know what the definition of open is and know that that we're not open. And all the other crucial businesses that you don't consider essential, but to the business owners who started those businesses and to the people who work for those businesses, those are essential businesses. And we know that what you said about us being open is total hogwash, Mr. Garcetti. So enough of this garbage. We see what's going on. We know the hospitals aren't packed. We know for the most part when it comes to COVID, our hospitals are empty, thank God. So stop with this whatever it is that you're doing. Learn how to be a leader instead of a spineless follower. Look up Governor Kemp in Georgia, who 2 or 3 weeks ago said, in the face of outrageous criticism from the mainstream media that said he was a killer, who opened up Georgia. There's not been a rise in COVID. There's not been a peak and a spike in deaths. There's been nothing. And all those people who have been able to go back to work and live their lives are living their lives again and earning their money again, and business owners again. All those people who you, Garcetti, and you, Newsom, and your buddy Schiff, who doesn't say a damn thing about any of this thing, all the people that you guys are killing off. Okay, it upsets me. When I come back after this break, www.ericearly.com, I'm going to talk more about the ongoing Schiff show. Thanks a lot. After the break, folks. As I said at the beginning, and I know as most of you know, I'm the candidate running against Adam Schiff for Congress. It's one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to take on that sociopath one-on-one. We had our primary out here in California on March 3rd. There were 7 people running to vie for the role of taking Schiff on one-on-one. I beat back those other folks. Now it's just me versus Schiff. I keep challenging this. Really, he's demented. I mean, look at the guy. He is demented. We see it for what it is. I keep challenging the demented Schiff, the clown Schiff, to a debate. Come on, Adam. Come on, buddy. let's debate. Let's take it one by one. Let's answer every question one by one. You'll say one of your very smooth talking lies, and I will actually answer the question. And I'll hold you to it. When every time you say a lie, I'll be taking a little line down here. Lie, lie, lie. At the end of it, I'll tell the audience how many times you lied. I probably won't be able to keep up with it. So let's talk about this pathetic one, Schiff. He acts like he's better than us. He's smarter than us. He's morally superior to all of us. Us 63 million people voted for President Trump. To Adam Schiff, we're just a bunch of fools. And because Adam Schiff considers himself so much smarter than us, he's so sanctimonious is the word. You could just see it in his language. Because he considers himself so much smarter than all of us, and he knows better than us, he doesn't think twice about taking the country through an impeachment hoax where he did everything he could to take a president that 63 million Americans voted for and get him out of office, and to make sure that Americans couldn't vote for the person we want to vote for in the upcoming election. There's no words for that kind of sick human who believes that he's so much smarter and better than a huge amount of Americans. I mean, just think of the 63 million people. Let's say we're here near Dodger Stadium. It's about 50,000 people. So fill that up, 50. 2 Dodger Stadiums is 100,000. So 20 Dodger Stadiums is a million. 20 Dodger Stadiums, a million. 20 full Dodger Stadiums, a million people. Then multiply that by, Mike, what do you multiply that by? You multiply that by 60. You multiply 20, I think I'm right with the math. You multiply 20 full Dodger Stadiums times 60, and that's how many people voted for Donald Trump. That helps us visualize a little bit better how many people supported our president in the last election. And that's how many people this whatever Adam Schiff tried to whose votes he tried to steal and prevent from being counted by removing the president. I mean, what the heck is he thinking? For doing nothing, by the way. So now we learn that back in December, when people on the House Intelligence Committee, like Adam Schiff, knew about this growing and gathering threat of COVID in China, Mr. Schiff didn't say a word about it to any of us. What was Mr. Schiff doing while this COVID menace was developing in China and starting to move from country to country? What was he doing with knowledge of the existence of the virus? He was taking an entire nation through this impeachment outrage. He and his group over there in the Democrat caucus in Congress took us through the impeachment outrage. So on one hand, you have Schiff lying to the nation, the mainstream media lapping it all up over here, and on the other hand, we have this growing menace in China that's starting to spread from country to country. And for the next 2 months, Schiff, the people in his caucus, and the entire mainstream media took us on that impeachment outrage, that hoax that was based on nothing, that was based on a phone call that was trying to out Joe Biden's son's corruption. I mean, what do you think Adam Schiff was trying to do there besides get rid of the president? He was covering up Joe Biden and his involvement in his son's corruption. I'll get back to that after the break. But so Adam Schiff has the, and when the impeachment hearing ended, and thankfully, as we all knew from the beginning, the president was acquitted, suddenly COVID was upon us. It was all over the place. It was all news all the time. The country would have been so much better prepared if Adam Schiff had never taken us on that outrageous impeachment hoax, which lowered the bar to allow any future president to get impeached for doing virtually nothing. I'll be talking more about the Schiff show when we come back from this break. www.ericearly.com. I need your support. That's how we're going to take Schiff out of office. Thanks so much. Tom Petty, American Girl. What a great song. Tom Petty was an incredible musician, and I know I miss him already. I know a lot of you miss him too. He died suddenly a couple months ago. That was really unfortunate, to say the least. So getting back to my opponent, the demented and despicable Adam Schiff. So Adam Schiff has a lot of explaining to do to all of us, a lot of explaining. Where were you, Mr. Schiff, on the COVID situation when you were leading us down the garden path on the impeachment hoax? And I'll get back into that a second, but we know what Schiff, one of the things he was covering up, Schiff is a cover-up factory. He's a sociopath and a cover-up factory. I've come out and said this before, and I firmly believe this, that he is really the equivalent of a white-collar criminal. And but for congressional immunity, which he hides behind with every lie he says and every piece of wrongdoing he does, he'd be behind bars right now. But the interesting thing about, one of the many interesting things about the impeachment hoax is they did everything they could, the mainstream media and Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and this clown Jerry Nadler and all the rest of them. They completely took the country away from what was really going on in Ukraine, which was Joe Biden's son, Hunter, making millions of dollars from a job at this place called Burisma. Now, Hunter Biden, we've all read about him. He was dishonorably discharged from the military. He's got a drug abuse past. He's got a terrible, just his background is bad. No real education to speak of, and no experience whatsoever to speak of. And then he ends up on the board of the largest energy company in Ukraine. And he's making, at least what they show he's making, is $80,000 a month. What we also know is that there was other millions of dollars of our taxpayer money that was going to Ukraine that the guy running Burisma was then siphoning off to other places, and it is strongly believed that several of those millions also made their way back into Joe Biden's son's pocket. That's what Donald Trump, our president, wanted looked into. Where did our taxpayer dollars go? Where did they go? Why would we not want to know that situation? To this day, Mr. Schiff, why would you not want to know if outrageous corruption was going on involving not only the former vice president of the United States, but somebody who's running for president of the United States? Why, Mr. Schiff, would you not want us to know about that corruption? Why do you not give a damn about whether or not Joe Biden and his son knowingly took millions of dollars of our taxpayer money? Why would you not want to know that, Mr. Schiff? What the hell is wrong with you? Americans want to know it. And yet, to this day, Schiff, the mainstream media, I mean, they talk about collusion. They have completely diverted from that entire subject. And now Joe Biden's running for president. They don't want us to know about this. Well, I know at least 63 million people that really would like to know about it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because then there's Hunter Biden and his Chinese deal, which basically allowed China to control the Obama administration through Joe Biden. How'd that work? Hunter Biden was sent over there with his complete lack of experience. He comes back with, I think it was $1.5 billion that China was going to invest through an investment company that Hunter Biden was affiliated with here in the United States. And as the president has said so many times, but which the mainstream media ignores and nobody will listen to, for these Wall Street type of guys, this best, very smart guys, the Goldman Sachs guys, the J.P. Morgan guys, to get a country to say, here, we're going to use you to invest our $1.5 billion. That's almost impossible. And when they do get them to do it, they only give it to the best and the brightest. Here, China allowed this moron, Hunter Biden, to use the $1.5 billion, bring it to his investment company, and they invested it. And the way that works is when you, as a investment banker type, get somebody to use you to invest $1.5 billion, you get at least 1% of that amount of money. At least. Usually get more than that. again, I'm not a mathematician. Mike, you're probably a better mathematician than I. Mike runs the whole show here behind the camera, just so you know. And whatever 1% of $1.5 billion is, that's a lot of money.
I believe that's $1.5 million.
Okay, Mike says it's $1.5 million. So at the low end, Hunter Biden got $1.5 million. Something tells me it's probably at least 5%. Again, total corruption by Joe Biden. And by doing that, China, by putting that money in Hunter Biden's investment company, or the company he worked for, it's not Hunter Biden's company, China owned Joe Biden, and China owned Barack Obama, and they had total leverage over them. If Obama ever said or did anything that China didn't like, and I'm going to get into China at the end of this show, China had them completely over a barrel because of how they basically bought Hunter Biden. And these were the things we wanted to look into. And my opponent, Adam Schiff, could give a damn about it. He doesn't care that the Obama-Biden administration was bought and sold by the Chinese. He doesn't care. And yet this guy Schiff, every time he speaks, he's acting like he's here to protect us and protect our Constitution and protect us from ourselves and protect America from the terrible Donald Trump. This is Adam Schiff. He's couching himself in terms of being this great and upstanding person when he is as corrupt and despicable and lying as we've ever seen in Congress. And yet the mainstream media, the CNNs, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all of them keep allowing this to happen. And the one great thing is the people of America, more and more, all of you, all these great patriots I support, see exactly what's going on because we have common sense. And we know we're being played. We know we're being played by the Adam Schiffs. We know we're being played by the mainstream media. We know we're being played by this clown Biden and his son. And we're not going to take it anymore. And that's why we voted in President Trump a couple years ago. And that's why we're going to vote him in again. So, we get it. We get the joke, mainstream media. We know you're lying to us, and we're not listening anymore. All right, when I come back after the break, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this guy Schiff, and then I'm going to tell you my thoughts on the Chinese Communist government, www.ericearly.com. Back, folks. We're in the second to last segment of the show, and this just in from the Los Angeles Times, because the Los Angeles Times, which is just, I'm no fan of them. They're part of this mainstream media clique that wants to do everything they can to make sure Adam Schiff stays in power for as long as he ever wants to stay in power. And of course, they're doing their best to keep everybody in L.A. County completely freaked out and stay indoors forever. L.A. Times could care less about people losing their jobs, could care less about people having no safety net, could care less about business owners who've gone into bankruptcy, could care less. L.A. Times, like so much of the mainstream media, wants to see everybody locked in for as long as possible. Do you think there's an ulterior motive to that? I do. The ulterior motive being, of course, let's keep the economy destroyed because we want to destroy President Trump. We know that's the ulterior motive. We've now crossed the 2,000 death mark in L.A. County. This sobering statistic illustrates that although this week has seen glints of optimism that the state is turning the tide in its fight against COVID-19, the disease is still here and the danger is still very real. Listen, 2,000 people. I'm sure there's a large chunk of homeless. I feel terrible for the homeless. I would have gotten them off the streets years ago. 2,000 people. I'm sure the majority of them are very elderly. Feel terrible for them as well. And those with severe underlying conditions. 2,000 of them for the large majority of our citizenry who are not elderly, who do not have severe underlying conditions, who might have even got the disease and their bodies treated it just like a common flu or even less than that. But these LA Times of the world, the Adam Schiffs, the Garcettis, the Newsoms, treat that as a reason to keep destroying 200,000 more lives in our county, to keep everybody locked in. It's time to unlock the doors, guys. So this guy Schiff has a lot of explaining to do, and yet we've all heard him now. He said, well, he wants to have a committee to investigate how the president handled the coronavirus crisis. We know what that means. That's Schiff. That's impeachment part 2. They've got other ideas for other ways to try and impeach the president again. It's Mr. Schiff that's the one that has the explaining to do. I am not happy with the senators in our U.S. Senate right now. It's controlled by the Republicans, and the way it works is because the party in control gets to set the investigations that are going to be had, and they're the ones who get to issue the subpoenas to call people before the Senate to testify under oath. They keep pussyfooting with this guy Schiff. This guy Schiff who took us through the Russia hoax, took us through the impeachment hoax. There should be a full-blown investigation in the Senate on the origins of the Russia hoax and Adam Schiff's involvement therein, including his leaks to the media, including his lies to the public, what he knew and when he knew it. And then they should continue through the impeachment hoax, and they should continue that investigation to see how Schiff was involved, because he clearly was involved in orchestrating the entire whistleblower complaint. There is no doubt in my mind he was in the background helping orchestrate the preparation of that complaint, which is completely against the ethical abilities and anything a U.S. congressman should be doing. We should put Schiff under oath. Wake up, Lindsey Graham. I like you in certain respects, but this way, it's time to get tough on Schiff, because that guy plays. You can say what you want to say about Schiff, but he plays hardball. You guys in the Senate Republican caucus are playing softball with him. Put him on the stand. Make him testify under oath. Schiff cannot speak the truth. So one of two things will happen, or both. He will either lie continuously, in which case we can get him for perjury, because that is not covered by congressional immunity if he perjures himself on the stand in Congress. Or the other thing he can do is just plead the fifth. Or he can do both. He can lie when answering some of the questions. We can get him for perjury and plead the fifth as to both. None of them will be good for Schiff. It is time to put Schiff on the witness stand. Lindsey Graham, I believe that would be a committee you're in charge of. Let's get it done, buddy. Schiff has a lot of explaining to do. You know, the last thing now we've seen is that 53 transcripts that Schiff refused to release on the House Intelligence Committee. He held them under lock and key for a year when he easily could. He was given permission to release them a year before. He refused to release them. Finally, the White House forced his hand. He had no choice. He had to release them. They came out 2 weeks ago. What'd they show? They showed that from day one of the Russia hoax, before Adam Schiff got on TV 400 times, lied to you, lied to me, lied to everybody, lied to his supporters, lied to everybody about seeing clear-cut evidence of Russia collusion. These documents, these transcripts show that Adam Schiff knew before all that there was no evidence whatsoever to support his lies. He's got to come on under oath and explain about that and about all his lies to all of us. He is a tremendous danger to our nation. He caused tremendous damage to our nation during that period. He caused tremendous damage to our president during that period. On and on and on. It is time for this guy Schiff to face the music. That's one of the reasons I'm running against him. That's why I jumped in this race. I jumped in the race really for two reasons. One, I firmly believe there's a battle of good versus evil going on in our country. I talked about it a lot in my last episode. Go listen to it. We've got to fight this evil at every turn, this communism, socialism coming at us from all sides. And I jumped in the race because I live in Schiff's district. I was watching this stuff on TV for a couple of years. I knew his line in my face. I couldn't take it anymore. Okay, in the last segment, I'm going to be going into communist China and talking about them. www.ericearly.com. Be back soon. Thanks, folks. Welcome back, folks. Last segment of the show. Let's talk about communist China. You know, I'm not happy with those folks over there in communist China. We all know why. They have been playing us for a fool for decades. Thankfully, the president has finally outed them. He enters into a great deal for America. First time in decades that our country finally did that. Wakes up the next day practically, and suddenly coronavirus is all over the place and coming right into the United States. The intelligence services, from what I read, have serious questions, and this is just what I read publicly. I don't have any inside information. Questions and serious concerns that this was done intentionally. And certainly the keeping our scientists and stuff from getting into China early on to find out what this disease, this flu was, this coronavirus was made of, to allow us to figure out how to stop it much sooner. We were prevented from going in there. China has so much to answer for. You've seen what they've done to our country. You've seen what they've done to the world because of this. And if this was an intentional attack, they're going to have to pay. Now, our country owes China trillions and trillions of dollars. So this is what we do. It's time to pay the piper to the Chinese government. There are many Chinese Americans, by the way. I got a couple of my closest friends. I'm talking about the communist Chinese government in downtown Beijing. It's time to pay the piper. We're going to take whatever this sucker has cost this country. And you know it's been a couple $1 trillion. We've seen the CARES Act. We've seen another one coming down the line. Let's say it's $7 trillion it's cost this country. We're going to send a little note over to downtown Beijing, to Chairman, whatever his name is, in China. And we're going to say, guess what? You see this debt of $20 trillion that we've run up against China? 20 minus 7 equals $13 trillion. All right? That's what you're going to be owed. Thank you. You just paid for the damage done to our country. Now, I tend to think that the chairman down there in China is not going to be too happy about that. And they got an incredibly powerful military. I don't believe it will come to war because I don't think they're crazy enough to go to war against us. But there's going to be a lot of tensions. We're going to have to be tough, and we're going to have to buckle down. But those folks that drop this on our country, it is time now for them to pay the piper, and I can't think of a better way for them to pay the piper than to literally pay the piper. $7 trillion is the number I've seen so far. Hopefully it's not too much more than that. So in the last couple minutes, I just want to say our next congressman is going to have to do what Adam Schiff hasn't done. He's abandoned our district for 20 years. We're going to have to dig out from the depression caused by COVID. We're going to have to rebuild our businesses. We're going to have to get our jobs back. We're going to have somebody like me who has worked with, negotiated, advised, represented all the different stakeholders in this, from employees to business owners to lenders to bankers to real estate companies to real estate builders to real estate agents to people who are just surviving on a daily basis, to teachers to nurses. I will be able to, and everybody in between, I'll be able to work with all the stakeholders, roll up my sleeve and get the federal government involved and get our district and help get our country back together again. This guy Schiff, he has no clue how to deal with people. Most people who know him, even Democrats, can't stand him. He belongs in a back room somewhere. We got to fight and get our money back from China. We've got to not bail out states like California that for years have been run into the ground financially by these Democrat regimes. We're not going to bail you out. Before this COVID existed, California was in the pits financially. We're going to do whatever we can to get rid of the sanctuary states. We're going to lower taxes. We're going to lock the borders up. No more illegal immigrants. And we're going to keep America's money for American citizens. I'll see you guys next week. I love doing this show. Support me if you want. I could use everything you want to donate. www.ericearly.com. No donation is too small. Thanks a lot, guys.